We are building the card game called War for the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. In the previous videos, we have seen how the players play their moves and how a war happens. Now that we have done all of that, which is all part of the inner loop, it's time for us to build the outer loop, which is the main game loop. We are just going to extend the outer loop. We already have it. In fact, we are going to develop it in a way that the game runs for a certain number of moves and then the game gets over. Now, it's very, very important at this point to highlight that in order for these loops to be nicely running in logical order, the indentation is absolutely spot on because remember, this is a nested while loop. The inner loop must be indented with respect to the outer loop. We have actually taken care of this, but we'll highlight what is to be done. Now we're going to add a bunch of things to our outer loop, not too much. Remember, first thing first, we are going to say, okay, look, the move complete, which is what makes the inner loop enter. I'm going to set it to false. Now this may look very strange because remember previously inside the while move, inside the inner loop, I had set this up to true when the move was complete. But for exactly this reason, I need to set it to false over here because if I did not set it to false, then this loop will not even enter. However, if I find that either of the players has no cards left, then I just say, okay, well, move complete is true, game complete is true, which means that I do not enter this anymore. And also I exit from this loop. Now, remember, I mentioned to you previously that when we are checking for sufficient number of cards for, let's say the war to happen, I choose less than 4. I said even less than 3 will be okay because this part of the code will still catch it. And pretty much that's all we need. However, inside the while not move complete code, we must have a count of the number of moves. Once the moves played becomes equal to 10, we are saying game is over. We're just going to set game complete to 1, and that's sufficient because once the game complete is 1, this loop exits and automatically the inner loop also exits. So let's get to our code and see how we bring in these changes. First thing first, we have to be very, very careful of indentations with this. So I'm going to first thing remove these two because these were artificial. This was just done to make sure that the one run happens while we were developing the code also. So I'm going to just sort of compress this down a little bit so that I can see the indentations very clearly. Notice my two loops are now visible. It's while, so I've got this piece of code, so this is fine. I've got while not game complete and while not, move complete. So I'm going to first thing first set my move complete to false within this loop. Now, like I said, the reason we need to do this is because remember when the move actually gets over, we set move complete to true to get out of the loop. However, once we, get out of the loop, the game is not over and we must play one more move. So I know for that purpose, I must set the move complete to false for the next move to happen. However, I must check that the players, have sufficient number of cards. So I can just take this piece of code from the else, which we had done earlier. I just take this piece of code, and I say, okay, look, if this is a situation that the move must go on, next move must happen. But, if nobody, if either of the player doesn't have at least even one card to play this game, then I'm afraid I will have to not allow the game to go on. So I'm going to set move complete to true, game complete to true. That means in that situation, I'll not enter this inner loop. I will, just skip this whole thing. Again, let's make sure indentations are all okay so that, we don't make any mistake here. Now, I just want to make sure that at the end of this, once, let's say, all the moves have been completed, let's say 10 moves have been played. Now, notice this has to be perfectly indented along with the if elif else, the outer if elif else, which is inside the inner loop. I'm going to say, look, if, let's say, moves played is, let's say, maybe equal to 10, then, I can just say game is complete and I'm going to set it to true. Now, the moment I do this, remember my inner loop, my outer loop ends and hence actually the game ends. So with this, the game is in good shape. We can actually play this now and see how it goes. When I look at this, so let's say first move computer wins because computer is a king, player is jack. Next, the computer wins again, computer wins again. Player wins this time. 4 moves have happened. War happened, but the player won after that. So really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves have happened. Computer wins. Computer wins. Player wins. This can actually go on for a while. War happened again. In fact, this time there were two wars. So, there was a war here, and then the player has won, and finally, the game is over because we have probably played that many, let's say that many moves. So if I see moves, let's say played, that is equal to 10. Now, if I look at length of my player, let's say player cards, that is 36. So clearly my player is winning. If my uh, let's say my length of compute cards is 16, and this has to be 16 because the total number of these two must be 52, and I know that the move has gotten over when I end this game, and hence I expect my length of table cards to be 0. In a later video, we are going to put these print statements which actually print out the length of these lists, and that makes it quite interesting. But really, the game is almost complete. Now, all we are going to do at the end of this is that we'll see who has more cards and declare a winner based on that. I hope you found this interesting. If you find that this way of learning programming by building activities that are fun appeals to you, look at our website because we have many, many, many such activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.